what I was doing when I was at Vanguard and when I was at, when I was, a stockbroker and a financial advisor was I was making millionaires, multimillionaires, but not helping the people from where I'm from invest. So that's where Better Wallet truly started.
Yo, bro.
What's happening? No capping. We with AO, about to get a plate bowl. Pull up to the table. Let's go.
One of the greatest things, man, that I love about life is you hear all kind of stories. You hear stories from homeless to, to wealthy, and you hear stories of single mom to building wealth. Well, today, I actually just learned something right before today's show, and I'm really excited about having this amazing young man on the show that I've actually known of for a while, seen him in a lot of different events that I was a part of, and love his love for money. Today, we're really going to just dive into one, his story, and two, how can we all really experience wealth and build wealth from no matter what. And this young man came from literally foster care to now helping people build wealth and investing the right way. And so I don't care where you are in life. I get sick and tired of people telling me, well, my past won't allow me to do this, or I never had this, or I never had that. No, man, I've met people who were homeless, met people who came from foster care, met single mothers, met people who filed bankruptcy, and they've all bounced back. You see, the greatest enemy to your success is your excuse. Your excuse, not the world, not the White House, your excuse. If you can get over your obstacles and actually use your past to push you towards your present, man, I'm telling you right now, life could be amazing for you. So today I want you to lock in, get a pen, get a paper. You're gonna be inspired, you're gonna get some information, and hopefully when you leave here today from listening to this podcast and or YouTube channel, you will have the information that you need to change your life. But before we get there, I want to thank one of the sponsors today, my friends over at Bethel Tech. Listen, if you can focus the next 9 months, it could change the next 9 to 19 to 39 years of your life. You see, one of the fastest rising careers in the world today that is creating millionaires is tech. My friends over at Bethel Tech are the leading tech boot camp in the United States of America. They are going to range anywhere between $15,000 to $17,000. You get a $1,500 scholarship just by joining them through my community. All you gotta do is go to anthonyoneal.com/Bethel and check this out. In 9 months, you can go from making whatever salary you're making now to making anywhere between $80,000 to $120,000, leading all the way up to maybe $300,000, depending on the field that you get into. But tech is like the new black to me. It's like black people need to start getting into the tech field because that's where millionaires are being made at 20, at 25, at 35, at 55, no matter what age you're in. So go check them out if you're ready for your life to change from a career perspective. Why not make some money from home? I mean, you got tech companies, giving you 6-figure salary plus unlimited days off. So you're making the money and you're getting some time with your family. Check them out. anthonyoneal.com/Bethel. And make sure y'all stop dating your boy. I need you to marry me. Hit that subscribe button. If you're on a podcast, man, download it, come over to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button as well, because we're growing fast. Our goal is to hit 500,000 subscribers on YouTube this year. Then next year, 2023, we're going to do 1 million. We are building some amazing things here at the Neatness Network, and we want you to be a part of it. So please hit that subscribe button, share this video, and if you enjoy my man Marc's testimony and his passion today and the information you get today, man, hit that thumbs up and do us a favor and share it. But let's get straight into it, man. Marc, what's up, man?
Chilling, man.
Yo,
thanks for having me here.
Man, listen, let's get straight into it, bro. What are you doing today, right? Like, what's your passion today? Then I want to go to the past.
Got it. I'm trying to make people rich. So I want people to start investing the right way through index funds and mutual funds, ETFs more specifically, and then try to find ways to avoid Uncle Sam legally.
Yeah.
So that's been my whole thing for the last couple of years.
Couple of years, man. So how long have you been in the financial space?
So about 11 years at this point. So I started off at the Vanguard Group, which at the time I had no clue who they were. I didn't know what they brought to the table until I started on day one. And people came to me and said, hey, you're at the largest mutual fund company in the world. Who knew, right? And then from there, I bounced to private equity and then fintech afterwards. And then now doing my own thing with Better Wallet, it's been 11 years in total.
Let me ask you this question as a black man, 32 years old, right? No kids, not married. Why do you feel black people do not invest properly today?
I think it's a lot of not knowing. It's not something that we hear about growing up. I remember looking at your story, and when it comes to finance, a lot of what you knew about finance was like giving money to the church and things like that, and that was really the extent of it. Same way with me. So my dad, my mom would tell me, okay, well, you need to save your money. You need to put your money in the bank. There was no conversation of 401ks, IRAs, custodial Roth, like all these different concepts. So it's a lot of not knowing. And what I've learned is that it's not only just black folks, it's a lot of white folks as well.
Absolutely.
Where they are struggling to invest their money as well. So, but for our community specifically, we definitely don't hear it. We're not hearing from our family. We're not hearing from our grandparents, whatever. And it's our time to start investing and putting our money into equities.
No, I agree with you, man. I have a heart and passion for, people of color. Because clearly I am a person of color. I'm black, proud to be black. But you're right. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work with, Dave Ramsey and I learned a lot working with them. And honestly, I'm so grateful that I spent those years there because you're absolutely right. It's not just people of color who are lacking that knowledge and that information. White people are lacking that knowledge and information, and Hispanics and Asians. And you're absolutely right in that area. I think for me, I want all people to get the message. But because I am a person of color, I really do want to make sure that my people get it. Because I think there's a lot of people out there giving it to other races and cultures that they can receive. But there's not a lot of people like you and I who are trying to make sure that our people get it as well in the way that we can receive it.
Exactly. Representation truly matters. Like, as we were talking about before we even started, like you were one of the first people who were talking about, hey, like I'm paying off my debt, I'm starting to invest. I'm like, oh, like, another black man is doing it. Like that means I could do it too.
Yeah. And that's important. Representation does matter. You said something about family, man. You're right. My family did not. They taught me the basics of what they knew. Hey, if you want to go into the military is a great option. If not, get a job, get some good benefits, keep your credit score at a decent score, retire within 40 years, get your retirement check, Social Security check, live off of that, and you straight.
Right.
Maybe you'll get your BMW, towards the end of that. But live and just do the bare minimum.
Right.
But that's because that's what they were taught.
Right. Work as hard as you can and, try to save as much as you can.
Yeah.
Try not to live paycheck to paycheck, but otherwise, like, no, you don't hear any of that stuff.
You don't hear any of it.
You don't hear anything regarding investing.
I'm curious because I know a little bit of your story. You were in the foster care system.
Yes, sir.
And so my story is different from your story. Give us a little bit of your history, man, because foster care, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, it was tough. So to kind of go a little bit even before that, I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and during that time, both my mom and my dad, they were both addicted to drugs. Unfortunately, my mom still is in and out of just rehab and things like that.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
Are you still keep in contact with her now?
I do. So once I was born, I was a preemie baby, which is crazy because I'm a big dude now, but all glory to God. But I was a preemie baby. I had to go through the NICU. I call it NICU alum. So after that, they put me straight into foster care. So I was bouncing around to all these different places. I lived with all types of different people, from the Amish to to Latina and Latino folks, white folks, black folks, and I just bounced around for a lot of years out of my life. But it gave me a strong appreciation for just different cultures and different ways of thinking. And then from there, at 13, is when I got adopted from the family in a very small town in Pennsylvania. And I think a lot of times when people are like, oh, you got adopted, you made it out. I'm like, the family that I was adopted into, they're all low income. Like my town, a quarter of the people in my town live below the poverty line.
Lived below the poverty line?
Yeah.
What was the poverty line at that time?
I don't remember the exact number, but I would say it's probably south of 50, 60,000. My parents made, at the height of their career, they were making about 60 altogether.
Combined income?
Combined income. That's why I qualify for the Pell Grant.
Wow.
Yeah. So we didn't really have it like we were talking about beforehand, like water going off, electricity going off, and things like that. That was normal. We thought we had it better than most of the other people that were around us. We lived right beside the projects. That's where I grew up. A lot of people that I was raised around were all entrepreneurs, but they didn't pay taxes, if you know what I mean. So that was like how I grew up. But my parents, my dad was in the military, and my mom was a high security prison guard. They told me, hey, like, you need to get an education. I don't know what that looks like, but you need to get an education. You need to go off to college. If not that, then you need to go to the military. You have one or the other. You need to figure it out. So at 17, I started applying for school, hoping I would get in. If I didn't get in, then I was going to go on the list. So then eventually I got into Penn State with no clue how I was going to pay for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. I'm curious, how, at 32 years old now, how did the foster care system and your younger life impact your life today?
It really significantly impacted it because even till today, I'm always thinking, how can I better my current situation? Because when I was in foster care, I was like, how can I become adopted? When I got adopted, I was like, okay, how can I do well in school to eventually go off and live the life that I dreamed of? Even being from a small town where, a lot of people weren't able to travel or like leave the state of Pennsylvania because they didn't have the funds. I was like, how can I travel more? How can I like see the world around me? And even now, I'm like, I can think bigger. I can do bigger. There's people who are out there and doing great things. Like, why can't I do the same thing? So I'm constantly trying to find a way to be bigger than myself and then try to impact the people around me to do the same thing. So that's ingrained in my head. I'm a hard worker. Kind of thinking about like my dad's job. My dad's job literally, until the day that he passed away, he moved, Mead, West Vaco, so Mead 5-star notebooks.
Yeah.
He worked in a factory in small town Pennsylvania, and he moved boxes from here to here on his feet, 12 to 16 hours a day. That's all he did, and he did with a smile. And I remember going in and telling them like, "No, like I don't want to do this. Like I don't want that job." And he's like, "Well, if you don't want to do this, then you have to go off to college." But a lot of what I experienced growing up in a lower income, household, going through foster care, getting adopted, all that stuff is ingrained in me now. Just that hardworking attitude, that grit, knowing that you're going to be able to push through anything.
Yeah.
I incorporate that into not only what I am today, but also my community, letting them know, hey, like you can push through. I'm going to help you.
It's so funny when you talk about push through, man. We woke up this morning and our water was off. And I was tripping because, I got my team here and I was like, dang. But it's like, you're right. It's like, you just got to push through, man. And Alex, my creative director, is a young kid, you know what I'm saying? He's 29. He ain't never have to adapt and adjust like this, you know what I'm saying? Why you looking at me like that, man?
Trying to tell my story.
My guy, Alex.
You know what I'm saying? But it was so funny because how I remember growing up in Darlington, South Carolina. Well, I didn't grow up in Darlington. That's where my family was from. And we didn't have city water. We had the, I forgot what it's called. I forgot, I just went blank. But it was the well. Yeah, we had well water. But when there's one particular day, the well water was out. It just wasn't working. And so when we cut off this morning, I just literally just went back to how I was raised. Like, all right, bro, take you 4 cups of water. I was like, you really gonna use those bottles of water? I was like, bro, can't be funky.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes I love how our past, we could take things from our past and bring them to our present, and it impacts our present.
Right.
And that's what I see from you. It's like, yo, you had to do some moving, some adapting, some adjusting. And now look at you today, successful, running your own business. And I'm like, man, I pray that my children never have to take out 4 bottles of water to wash themselves and brush their teeth. But I still want them to know how to do it.
How to adapt if they're in that situation.
Have to. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like life is going to happen. And while it was uncomfortable, I'm not funky. I brushed my teeth to do this show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My hair could be a little bit better. I couldn't wash my hair this morning. But you know what? At the end of the day, I was like, wow, God, like, something that I thought was crazy back in my days is actually saving me today.
Yep.
And it's like, do you think, because you remind me of me, it sounds like you have like 4 parents, 2 of them that unfortunately, left you hanging in your younger stages, but then you had 2 great parents who stepped in and said, hey, we don't have it all together, but we're going to step in and save this young man's life.
Right.
You call your dad, your adopted dad. Mm-hmm. Wow. And I'm thinking you said before he passed, so did that one pass or your biological father passed?
My adopted dad passed after my freshman year in college.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Did y'all grow a close relationship, you and your adopted parents?
Yep. My dad and I, he was my best friend. We worked together for some time during the summer after my freshman year because, I was trying to make some money and, my GPA wasn't all too good. I ended up getting kicked out of Penn State. It was a long story, but I needed to make the money in order to give it back to Penn State to get back into school. But yeah, he's my best friend. And it's a longer story, but unfortunately he died right before my eyes. And it was only me and my mom at home during that time. And that completely changed my life. What you see today is not the Marc from, freshman year. Freshman year in college, I was having a ball. Alex knows about Penn State. It's a ball. And, once that happened, I went from a boy to a man overnight.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how's that relationship with your adopted mom?
Still good. We fight often, but I think it's more because we're very similar. We're very hard-headed, and when we have an idea, we want to go straight forward into our idea, and you kind of have conflicts, right? But that's what family does, right? Like you're gonna fight every so often, but at the end of the day, like she helped me to get to where I'm at today.
Wow, man!
I'll never forget that.
Adopted mama, thank you. Adopted mama, thank you. Thank you so much. Did you ever meet your biological father?
Yep. So I met him a couple years ago.
Wait,
officially.
Literally?
Yep.
So like when you was 30?
Yep.
That
so I was 30 years old.
Yep. First.
Yep. So Ancestry.com, we're not sponsored by them at all, but Ancestry.com, I got the test and I was like, you know what? I want to figure out what part of Africa I'm from. And I was like, okay, well, I found out that I'm from Western Africa. Cool. And then on Ancestry, you have an option to look at some of your cousins. And, like, it'll tell you, okay, like, second cousin, third cousin, fourth cousin, whatever. My third cousin popped up, Tramika. She lived in Atlanta, and they kind of have the information. I was like, you know what? I'm going to send her a message. Yo, what's good? Like, I was adopted, blah, blah. My third cousin, based off of this random test I took. And she got back to me within a couple hours. She was like, oh, cool. Like, that's dope. Tell me a little bit more about your story. By the way, you look just like my Uncle Charles. And I'm like, oh, wow. You have the same eyes, everything. Like, what? So eventually we got on the line, and she was like, listen, like, it was a great conversation. I want you to go and call my Uncle Charles. He lives in West Philly, right? I lived in Philly at the time. I was downtown Philly. He lived in West Philly. So I call him, and I'm talking to him and his wife, and we're just going back and forth, just like my background and everything. And he was retired. He was like, hey, like I used to be a school teacher. Now I'm a realtor. I drive Uber. I do carpentry work on the side. I'm a mason. I'm a Freemason. I'm doing this and that. I'm like, this guy's doing everything. And I thought back to like what I was doing at the time, and I was doing everything as well. I was also an Uber driver at the time, just trying to make ends meet and pay off debt. And then I was like, man, like this guy's probably my dad. There's no way he's not my dad. And then a couple months later, he took the same test. Because back in the 90s, or probably the 80s, he was shaking and moving, doing his thing, you know what I mean? So he wasn't sure where his kids were at. So he was like, I don't know, it could be, I had my fun back then, potentially could be my son. And then he called me after he took the test, and he was like, 99% chance that you're my son.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, wow. And I was driving. I almost fell off the road, man. Like, I almost swerved off the road. Because you go 30 years of your life just thinking about who is my dad? Who is my biological father? Not that I really wanted him in my life, per se. I just wanted to know. Just to be like, okay, got it. And And my entire life, I thought he was a drug dealer. I thought he was dead or locked up, whatever it might be. But you find out that he's just some, guy that, lives in West Philly, great father, really down to earth, cares about his family, the people around him, served the country as well. So he was in the Air Force. And you find out that everything you thought your dad was going to be is not that at all. So I'm truly blessed to have him in my life, especially how my adopted father left my life.
Wow. So are y'all close today?
Yeah. So he's actually going to come down to Atlanta here in a couple months. We're going to kick it. But we, it's weird because it feels like a distant cousin in a way. It's like, hey, like I know about you, but I don't really know you like that. So we're kind of trying to build that relationship, that bond. So there's love there, but I just need to know more about him. He's learning more about me. He's learning more about the business and how, my entire story. He's also learning about this entire family that he doesn't know about. He doesn't know anything about my adopted family, but he has a strong respect for my biological parents. And he makes it very clear, even Father's Day. He's like, I know your father is Big Russ. That's my dad's, my late father's name. I know that's your dad, but I'm happy that I'm in your life. Like he would always say that, like for the last couple Father's Day. And that shows a lot of character for a man to kind of say that to their child, knowing that he's the biological father. And he says, hey, like, I understand that, I come in second place, quote unquote. And I just appreciate that I could be in your life. So that goes a long way with me.
Yo, we share similar stories, but not similar stories. It's like, I have two fathers and two mothers, two biological parents and two others. And I don't really like the term step because my stepmother and stepfather legally have become mothers and fathers to my heart.
Yep.
And my other father was the first man that I could remember, like physically. My biological father's been in my life from day one, but just physically, my stepfather was that guy that I first remember, right? But he never ever downplayed my biological father. Every Father's Day, I would say Happy Father's Day when I was living with him, and he would be like, "Yo, have you called your father?" To tell him Happy Father's Day.
Right.
And my father would tell him Happy Father's Day. And my biological father would tell him Happy Father's Day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I remember men respecting and honoring men when respectfully I could say this without getting in any trouble with my mama. My father had every right to be extremely upset with my stepfather. And he probably was upset in the very beginning, and I just probably never heard it. But he had every right to where he could have just been like, forget you, stepdaddy, But to me, I never saw it. I've always seen them respect each other, and my stepfather always respect my father. And I think, man, in this generation, we got to get there. And I just love hearing that story about that. And I'm happy for you and your father, man.
I appreciate it.
That's really good. Do you think he'll ever get that father role, or do you think he'll just become your father for sure, because he is that, but like just a good friend in your life? Yeah.
Eventually, hopefully it gets to that point, but we're gonna try not to force it, right? Like he's down to earth enough where I can say, hey, like, hopefully we'll get to that point, but if we don't, it's cool.
It's cool. It's been 30 years.
Right. And he's more, because I have my biological siblings too. So he's introducing me to them. CJ and Charnay. And
how old are they?
They're so CJ, he is 20. He's 22 now.
Okay.
Charnay just graduated from Penn. She is 21. And then
so wait, they went to the same college as you too?
I went to Penn State.
Okay.
The better school. The better school.
I was about to say, wait, this is interesting.
Not the Ivy League.
Okay. All right. Cool. I got you.
So, but it's been cool, like connecting with them and learning the other side of the family. His mother's still alive, so connecting with her as well, and like just learning about like what she kind of went throughout her life.
Yeah.
So it's been cool. A lot of different family dynamics and everything, but it makes me who I am today.
Man, no, this is good. And I love to get the background of the story because it's like where you are today with your company, Better Wallet, right? That wasn't instilled into you at 10, at 15. You didn't see business owners. You didn't see wealthy parents.
Right.
Well, no, you probably saw wealthy parents. I think wealth is, wealth is a whole lot more than just money.
Yep.
But you didn't see the wealthy side when it comes to the physicalness of money.
Right.
Right. Growing up. So I'm curious, how did you get into the financial world? So coming from where you were, how did you get into like, hey, I want to get involved in finances?
I weaseled my way in.
Weaseled your way in?
Yeah, man. So I went to Penn State, I got into the engineering program initially. I thought I was going to do engineering. Then I realized I wanted to do business. So I started doing business, and my GPA wasn't high enough to get into finance. You needed, at the time, I think you needed like a 3.5 in order to get into finance after your freshman year. It was not even close to that. I think it was like a 2.1 after my freshman year. It was rough, just kind of going through a lot of what you have to go through your first year of school. So I said, hey, like I want to still be in business, but I'm going to do economics. And then hopefully one day I can get myself into the finance world and like walk on Wall Street and all that stuff. And when I was in school was at, during the 08, 09 crisis. So I like fell in love with like what was happening in Wall Street and trying to figure it out and saying like, how can I help people, normal investors invest the right way? And that's been like my whole mantra, since the beginning. So as I was going through school, I wish I had like your book, for example, that would teach me how to get like a debt-free degree and all that stuff. I didn't have that. I didn't know how to, graduate from school without having all that, all the debt that I did incur. So I was going to a student aid office. I was negotiating with them. I was begging for money. I was working these odd jobs. I was selling plasma. I was cutting hair. I was refereeing. I was doing anything I possibly could in order to afford school.
Selling plasma?
Yep.
AKA blood?
Blood, yep.
Your blood?
Selling blood, yep. My siblings still make fun of me until today, but I'm like, I had to put food on the table. I had to eat. I had to pay for books.
Wow.
Like, you guys didn't have the bread, so I had to figure it out. So, but yeah, I was doing everything. I was running my own business. I was running my own barbershop business out my dorm bathroom. So I'll have clients come in like every Saturday, and I would just cut all Saturday. And I'll use that money in order to pay for whatever I needed to pay for school. But I knew one thing, I was going to graduate within 4 years, no matter what.
Did you graduate?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you graduate with?
Economics, business economics.
Business economics.
Yep.
How much debt did you graduate with?
$50,000 of debt.
$50,000 in debt. Was that an in-state or out-of-state school for you?
In-state.
In-state.
Yeah, $50,000 of student loan debt, and then I had car debt, had credit card debt. That was the hardest part, credit card debt.
The credit card debt.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you spend on your credit card? I'm curious.
Everything. I was that kid where we will go out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to swipe the card.
And I mean, everybody.
You want shots? No problem. I just want people to have a good time.
No, I'm with you.
Know what I mean?
I'm with
so
you.
I was like, you don't got the bread? I'm make sure have a good time, whatever. Going out buying clothes, shoes, whatever. Because I was in a stage in my life where I felt like I needed to impress.
Yeah.
So I was just going and doing whatever. And then next thing you know, I had $10,000 of credit card debt. Again, similar to your story, I was going and I was getting these credit cards because they were like, oh, like we're going to give you free pizza and T-shirts, right? I'm like, bet, sign me up. No problem, you know what I mean? And then luckily at a certain point, they cut me off and they said, like, you can't get any more credit. I'm like, what? Like, why can't I?
Right.
This is free money. Why are you not giving it to me? So I was just swiping the card and praying that one day I'll pay it off. But yeah, so throughout school, just did all these different odd jobs to make sure that that I can pay for school. But the reason why I was able to get into finance is because I was able to spin my entire story to these recruiters and said, because like I'm going to these recruiters at Vanguard, a lot of these people, they come from money. They come from multifamily homes and all this stuff, and they would sit down and be like, hey, like tell me your story. I tell them the story and they'll be like, oh my God, like you've been through a lot. And for them, they're like, oh, you have like the intangibles, you have the grit, you have the willpower. you know about personal finance, you know how to make things work, you know how to talk to people. And when you're coming out of school, that's what they want to see.
Yep.
So I talked to a recruiter. That recruiter passed me on to another recruiter. Next thing you know, I'm working at Vanguard in one of their top programs. It's called the Vanguard Accelerated Development Program, where they only choose 20 people out of the country to work at Vanguard. And the goal is for you to become senior management within 10 years.
And you were selected for the program.
And me from the hood was selected for the program. And I'm with other kids that were, from private equity fund families. Like one kid, his mom was, or his dad was a hedge fund manager. And I'm having conversations with them. And they're like, oh, like, what's your family? What do they do? Like, oh, my dad passed. He worked in a warehouse. My mom worked in a prison. She's physically disabled. And I'm here to show you guys that I can run circles around anyone. So they love that. They love that. So it's a lot of fun.
Run circles around all y'all rich people.
Right.
Yo, that's crazy. So
But that's how I got in.
that's how you got into the finance world.
Yep. The next thing you know, I'm a licensed stockbroker, and then finally became a licensed financial advisor. Just starting there.
And how much debt were you in around that time?
And when I graduated from school.
No, I'll say right around the financial when you became a financial advisor.
Mm-hmm. So at that time, I started nipping away at a lot of my debt. So I still probably had like 40 to 50,000 left in total of student loan debt and car debt and credit card debt. Because it took me a while to get my act together. It wasn't until maybe 2017, like after I left Vanguard, where I said, you know what, I'm going to take control of how much money I'm bringing in. And I'm also going to do offense and defense, right? So I'm going to make sure offensively I'm bringing in enough money. And then defensively, I'm going to make sure I'm budgeting and paying off debt. And luckily, the combination of those two helped me to pay off debt by 2020.
So you're completely debt-free today?
Completely debt-free.
Let me ask you this question, though. Why do you believe financial freedom and having no debt is the best route to go for you personally?
For me personally, I knew that I woke up every day with anxiety knowing that I had debt. I owed someone else. I didn't want to be in a position where I owed anyone for anything. I didn't want to be in a position where anyone could take anything away from me. Everything I have today, no one could take it away. No one could take away your degree. No one could take away my business, like all those things. So for me, I wanted to become debt-free. To have that freedom to basically say, hey, like I can work on my own terms. I don't have to worry about paying back the man. And it also kind of went along the same vein of make sure I decrease my expenses to a point where I can start my own business. Because what people fail to realize is that when you start your own business, the paycheck that you're getting month after month is based off of the expenses that you incur month after month, right? So like if you're able to lower that threshold, and let's say you only need $3,000 a month, then that means you only need to bring in theory, $3,000 in order to break even. Likely you need more than that because of taxes and all that stuff, but that's another conversation. But that was my whole mentality. I said, hey, like I want to work on my own means. I want to have my own company. And frankly, when I was at Vanguard and I was working in private equity and I was working in fintech, I told myself I can do it better myself. I can help the people that look like me go off and become millionaires and multimillionaires. But what I was doing when I was at Vanguard and when I was a stockbroker and a financial advisor was I was making millionaires multimillionaires, but not helping the people from where I'm from invest. So that's where Better Wallet truly started.
Yo, bro, you just said something that I want to make sure that people heard. You are helping millionaires become multimillionaires, but you were not helping people who look like you and I become millionaires.
Right.
And I think that is so important to understand to people. To why do people like you and I have a passion for our community? Because we are not even becoming 100,000aires. It was on, I got it over here on my computer. It's the, it's the McKinsey and Company company. They came out with this study 2 years ago called the Economic State of Black Americans, What Is and What Could Be. They do this study every 3 years. And they say that less than 50% of 48% of black men are going to make $38,000 a year.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people who look like you and I, that's almost half of black men
Yep.
are going to make below poverty, $38,000 a year. And then it said the other side will make about $48,000 a year, but then only 7% of black people will make over 6 figures.
Wow.
And then here you are saying, you know what, I can help my people go from 38,000 to 100,000 to $500,000 to $1 million. But it's so funny how you're right. The millionaires are becoming multimillionaires.
Right.
Woo!
Yeah, and I realized that during times where the market wasn't doing all too well, and I would get calls from the multimillionaires saying like, I my life is in danger. Like I feel like I'm in a crisis because the market's not doing well and I'm losing money. And I had to think about it. I'm like, what problem am I solving? I'm helping them with tax strategies. I'm helping them build their portfolio. I'm helping them with just trying to limit the volatility within their portfolio. And I'm like, but am I actually helping to solve the challenge that's at hand? The wealth gap, right? Like I talk about that heavy on my page because it's so important. And I was like, am I helping to widen it, or am I helping to bring it in, or like shorten it? So from there, I started working on what I call my pandemic project, which is Better Wallet, and then from there it took off from there. So you find one person that needs some help, you find 2 people, you find 100,000, you find 200,000. And it's been going from there.
We have to close the wealth gap.
Yes, sir.
It actually helps it helps the world. It doesn't just help black people. It helps the world. When we can get our black families healthier and wealthier, starting businesses, it now helps the world because then now those black families can employ other people.
Right.
When we employ the people, we help the economy.
Yes, sir.
So it's like it helps all people when black people and white people and Asian people win.
Right.
And it's like, whoo, boy, Better Wallet here talking. He in here talking. He is in here talking. Man, how do we help close the wealth gap? So what is one thing that Better Wallet is doing to help close that wealth gap?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of things, but primarily what we're doing is helping people streamline their finances, make sure they're not spending money on things that they shouldn't, in order for them to invest more, in order for them to grow wealth for their family, tax efficiently, right? I think a lot of times we talk about, okay, we need to build generational wealth, but we truly only talk about building wealth, building their money, but like we're not talking about how can we pass on to our kids, how can we pass on tax efficiently, how can we build trust funds, right? Like all that stuff is really important. I feel like we miss a lot of that. So me stepping in as like a past financial advisor, I'm like, hey, here's the other part of that story. I can help you get up to wealth. I can get you to the point where you're investing your money, you're making money passively, but we also need to talk about how we're going to pass it down to our kids, and then how we also going to educate our kids and make sure that they aren't messing up the money once they get it. So it keeps going generation after generation.
That generational wealth is something very, very important to me. I don't have kids like you at 38. I don't even have a wife. I'm out here trying to find one. I'm dating. And it's like, for me, it's like, man, what am I building now that will generate a strong legacy for my kids down the road?
Yep. I've already started. I have a 529 plan for my future child.
Wow.
Already set up. I've been putting money into it for a long time.
Yeah.
At this point, I was just looking at the numbers before coming here. If I stop contributing right now and allow it to grow, they will already have more than $150,000 invested by the time, let's say they come out, 10 years from now, and then they have 18 years until they have to go off to school. They'll have, more than 6 figures already invested. So they can go off to school, they can go off to college, they can go get a certificate, whatever, but they can use that 529 money. So what you do is you invest before the kid's even born. Once the kid's born, they have a social security number. You transfer the account to them, allow it to grow. A lot of people say, okay, well, 18 years isn't enough. to invest. Yeah. I mean, given the tuition rates and how they've been climbing, assuming your kid's going off to a 4-year university, I get it. Like, you don't have a lot of time, and you have to contribute a lot over a course of 18 years. But you can start now. If you're thinking about having a child, or if you know that one day you'll have a kid, you can start putting money into a 529 account now and then transferring over to your kid a little bit later when they're born.
Yo, man, real quick, I want to thank our second sponsor of today's show, man, Prize Pool. Prize Pool is where I actually park my money. I have my emergency fund there, and I have my kid fund. Mark is talking about the 529. I actually have a kid fund over there that I'm just putting money into that. And then once it goes from there and I do get a Social Security number, then I'll move it over to a 529 or to something else that we may do. It all depends on who I get married to. But I love Prize Pool because they offer a high return on their savings account. It's easy accessible. And you know what? They're giving away close to $50,000 a month just in rewards for you saving. So you could walk away not just with your percentage on your return, but every single week you could walk away with another $100, $500, or $10,000. And I think the number was like close to a 3% return on your savings account is what they're averaging per person because of all the rewards and stuff that they're giving. So listen, you can go to anthonyoneal.com/savings, open up your Prize Pool account for free. And if you put in $500 or more inside of the savings account, they're going to give you more tickets to go towards the drawings. So check them out, you guys. It'll be worth it. I park my money there. Listen, one key thing to building wealth is make sure you have a savings account that prevents you to going back into debt. Bottom line. It's not a matter of if life will happen. It's just a matter of when life will happen. So join me over at Prize Pool. Go to anthonyoneal.com/savings, and they will take good care of you. Why are you so passionate, man, about saving for your kids' financial future right now when you don't even have kids? You say you're not even dating. So you probably got at least, for sure, another year. If you meet someone tomorrow and y'all, you're a high quality man, so that ain't gonna happen. So you got at least another 2 years before you have kids.
Yeah, and the reason why, so when my dad passed after my freshman year, as I mentioned, he didn't have anything. He had a loan that we had to pay off. He didn't have a 401k, no IRA, no life insurance, nothing, absolutely nothing. So
no life insurance?
Nothing, absolutely nothing. So when he passed away, we struggled for a long, and again, it's at the height of 2008, 2009 financial crisis, right? So my mom had to go through bankruptcy. It was just a lot that we had to go through over that course of time, because we didn't have the backing. So in my head, I'm like, my kid is not going to have to deal with that. They're not going to have to deal with it if, unfortunately, I, pass away or whatever happens. They're going to have that financial backing, and they're going to be good. But that's one of the bigger reasons on why I want to make sure that they are taken care of from, a 529 standpoint, or, when they're born, I'll make sure they're working for Better Wallet. We'll open up a custodial Roth IRA. We have the game plan. Yeah. Just have to get the kid. I'll probably end up adopting, to be honest.
For real?
Given that I was an older adoptee. That's something that's near and dear to my heart, yeah.
I'm not opposed to adopting, man. I'm really not opposed to adopting. My stepfather tried to adopt me, which I'm grateful that he couldn't, because my dad was alive in my life, and he was like, no, I don't want to give up my son. And so it honestly, them fighting that out actually made me love both of them even more. That you loved me enough to adopt me, and you loved me enough to not give me up. And so, but it's like to see how my other father really loved me. I'm like, yo, I could adopt. I could really serve a young kid and help that young kid rise and become bright. Because, bro, what you're doing in life right now, man, I can tell what your late father did and how he really stepped into your life and gave you life.
Yes, sir. Yeah, he was a hardworking guy, would give his shirt off his back for anyone. And he used to always tell me, hey, like, I'm not going to be here forever. And I used to be like, get out of here. You're going to be here forever, man. Like, when I make it, you're not going to have to work anymore. Like, I'm going to retire you. You're not going to work in this factory. And unfortunately, he's not here now, but I always think about that, man. Like, he would literally be living in Bora Bora. Like, I would just make sure that he had the bread to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. But he was such a hardworking guy, I can't even see him retiring.
Yeah.
That's just how, like, that was his character.
Man, dude, that is good.
Yeah.
Man, that makes me happy for you and your future kids, because I mean, you're going to provide a life for them that's going to be so impactful, man. I'm curious, as we're coming to the end of the show, I wish we had a 2-hour show, bro, because I mean, your story is just powerful. And I really want y'all to check out all of his information. We're going to drop it in today's show notes. He has an amazing financial checklist that you all can check out to really start your journey right. And we're going to put his information there, Better Wallet information in there, his IG information in there. Y'all go support him. Go support my man. Get the knowledge, get the information, because I love what Marc is doing with this brand. But if someone's listening to this right now and they're saying, all right, Marc, I hear you. I've been listening to Anthony. I hear this show. You know, I don't come from the best upbringing too. I don't know where to start. Where do they start to get their money on track?
Yeah, well, you just mentioned the financial checklist. So when I left corporate America, I knew that there were a lot of people that were like struggling with their finances, and I needed to create a product where they can go and just check the box and say, okay, well, what do I need to do when it comes to saving money? Like, do I need a high yield savings account? If so, like, where should I go? If I need to open up an investing account, what do I need to do? What do I need to invest in? How do I pay off debt, right? So there's 4 different quadrants that in that checklist where I not only tell you what you need to do, but I also show you how you go about doing it. So if you're like, all right, well, I need to understand what my net worth is. How do I calculate that? I have a budget or I have a net worth tracker in there where you can go click the link, and then from there, the net worth tracker will pop up, and then you can figure out what your net worth is. So the goal of it is for you to walk away and say, okay, well, I know where to start. And then from there, you continue to check off the list. And then I have a rubric at the end where it will tell you where you're at. So if you're, I call it financial SOS, where you're like, hey, I need help, all the way to being financially bulletproof, which is 21 of the different points on the checklist.
Cool.
Yep.
If I'm 25 watching this, I'm like, all right, cool, great. I got that. I'm good. I ain't got no college debt. How do I start building my wealth?
Start investing.
Yeah.
Early and often.
Where would you say first?
So I would, if you're younger, if you're 25, likely you are not at the point where you're making the most money within your career, right? So like you're at a lower tax bracket normally. So that's when you start taking advantage of tax efficient accounts. So we talked a little bit about like just Roth accounts in general. So consider a Roth IRA. Frankly, consider a Roth 401k. People
Absolutely.
don't. So you want to make sure that you're paying those taxes now when your tax rate is lower. And then from there, later down the road, you know, when you retire, then you don't have to pay taxes on the amount of money after 59 and a half. Yeah. So I would say if you're 25, focus on those tax efficient accounts. And then later down the road, you don't have to worry about paying money to Uncle Sam.
I know probably saying, well, what does he mean by pay the taxes now? I'll have to pay him down the road. Well, I know what he's saying is, let's say for an example, you're in a tax bracket and you're only paying 18%. That's because your tax bracket is low because your income is low. So it's like if you're only making $35,000 a year, you're not paying as much interest as someone who's making $100,000 a year, or someone who's making $80,000 a year, or someone who's making $225,000. So if you're only going to pay, let's say, for an example, just rough example numbers, 18% at this, but then now your money's growing Roth tax-free. But then as you're getting older, your income grows, and maybe your tax bracket may by that time be at 33%. You're not paying 33% when you go to pull it out if you had a traditional 401k. And that's what I love about Roth. You pay your tax bracket rate today, and it grows tax-free. And man, listen, I would hope that all of us, by the time we get older, are making more money. We're in a different tax bracket, but we don't have to pay those penalties.
Yes, sir.
Not really penalties, but I call them penalties. I mean, it's IRS. So anything the IRS is in, it's just penalties.
Right. Yeah. And like even with like a Roth IRA, you could take money out after 5 years of putting money in. You could take money out to pay for your first home up to $10,000, for example.
Yeah.
Or a college education, whatever. You can use it for that, or like medical expenses. Like there's so many different ways of using a Roth IRA that I feel like people don't really pay as much attention to. But yeah, if you're younger, take advantage of the tax efficient accounts. I think a lot of times we gravitate towards putting money into brokerage, which is just like a normal investing account, traditional investing account, but there's no tax benefits with that. You put money in, the money grows, you take it out, you have to pay taxes on it.
Yep.
There's more tax efficient ways of going about doing it.
So for Better Wallet, but you being a self-employed business owner now, what's your thoughts on people starting businesses? Because we do know that the tax laws was written more so for business people than it was for the W-2 employee. Do you see benefits with being a minority business owner?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just being a business owner in general, there are ways to pay less in taxes because the money's coming from the business versus coming from a company. Because I'm not a W-2 employee, there's a lot of taxes that I, frankly, am able to avoid because of that. Even when I pay myself a salary, I pay myself $50,000, which is significantly less than what I made as a financial advisor. And some people are like, why don't you pay yourself more? And I'm like, you don't understand how taxes work. You want to make sure you want to keep that as low as possible because that's where you're taxed, is that money that's coming from the business versus you could take a draw from your, so I have an S Corp, you could take a draw from your account and get paid, or you have to pay significantly less in taxes. So definitely a lot of benefits in being a business owner. That's just one. I mean, I also have a solo Roth 401k.
Yep.
So you kind of combine a 401k with a Roth account, and then it's called solo because you own it, and I'm the only employee within Better Wallet currently.
Yeah.
So because of that, I'm able to contribute more into a solo Roth 401k than I would if I had a traditional 401k. So there's a lot of different benefits, and I'm playing around with a few others. So now that I'm in Atlanta, I can start buying up real estate. That would be a completely different LLC. That's really where the money is made as well. Yeah. So that's going to be like one of the newer ventures that I'm going after. Yep.
For someone saying, I have my own business. How do I get a solo Roth 401k? How do they do that? Do you have any recommendations for them?
Yeah, there's a couple different places where you can go and get a solo Roth 401k. Fidelity has one. I personally have one at Vanguard. You would think I'm biased towards Vanguard because I work there. I'm not. But Fidelity has one. Vanguard has one. I think Charles Schwab has one as well. Okay. Where you go, you set it up, you give them some paperwork to show them that you're an actual company, and then from there you could put your money on autopilot.
Autopilot? Yeah. Go straight into it.
Yep, exactly. So it's more simple than you might think. I thought it was going to be really complicated. It was pretty straightforward.
Do you do, as a business owner, do you do all of your investments with Vanguard?
No. I use primarily Vanguard funds, but I actually don't like the Vanguard platform at all.
I got you.
Hopefully you're not working with them, but being there for as long as I work there, their technology needs to be better. They don't put enough money into their technology, and they don't even talk about how much money they put into their technology because they know it's not enough, and they tend to have a lot of issues with opening up accounts. Out of all places where you would have an issue when it comes to technology for a firm, don't let it be when people are trying to put money into your company.
Absolutely.
And they struggle with that, and they continue to struggle. And I've left Vanguard. It's been almost, how long has it been? 5 years since I worked there, and they still have the same issues. So I don't like their technology platform. I don't like their app. I think Fidelity is better when it comes to technology. I don't like Fidelity funds as much as I like Vanguard funds. So I mix and match. But like I'm not biased towards Vanguard at all.
Whoa, wait, boy. Yep. Listen here, man. This has been a great show. Like I think for me, hearing your story and seeing your journey to where you are now with Better Wallet, after all you've been through and the wealth that you're building for yourself and for your future family, and how you're teaching this to other brothers and sisters as well. Mm-hmm. This is a story. I'm like, man, wow. Like I thought I had a story, but my story is night and day from your story. Mm-hmm. You met your dad 2 years ago. You met your mom at what, 13? Mm-hmm. And look at you today, man. Mm-hmm. This is just a reminder, that you guys, no matter what you're going through, like I said in the beginning of the show, that the greatest enemy to your success is your excuse. He could have clearly been like, man, I don't know who my parents are. I didn't get this information. I didn't have this. I didn't get this. I didn't get that. So I can't get that. But no, he fought. He fought through. He learned. He made some mistakes. And he bounced back. And he said, all right, cool. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to learn this. And now look at him today, a business owner, helping millions of people with their money. Already thinking about his wife and his kids down the road. So ladies, hit him up. Hit him up in the DM, you know what I'm saying? He's single, you know? And y'all heard what he said. He already got a 529 for y'all kids. That's a good man. That's a good, he ain't even met you yet, he already thinking about the kid that's coming out your womb. My God, my God. That's a good black man right there. That's a good black man. So we're going to put all his information seriously in the show notes. I want y'all to go check him out. Follow him on Instagram. Let him know that y'all seen him on the show, and support this brother because he has a wealth of information that he can give you. He can teach you. Listen, man, this is family. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is what it's about. Helping my brothers and my sisters win and excel. And I've been following him for years. And I've been seeing what he's been doing and how he's been impacting the financial community. And I had to get him on the show. I just had to get him on the show. And so I want y'all to go check him out. Don't forget to check out my partners today, Bethel Tech and Prize Pool. Again, you can go to anthonyno.com/Bethel, anthonyno.com/savings. Open up a savings account today. Check out Bethel Tech so that way you can get into the tech career field. Because I believe in 2023, we're going to see more millionaires coming out of my tribe. We're going to see more business owners and more people getting into tech and really owning their career field so they can make more money, so they can start getting out of debt, so they can start really, really building wealth. So go check out my partners. Check out my boy Marc's information today in today's show notes. And we'll see you on the next show. Peace out.